Hello and welcome to Tracy Mommy Reads. I am back again with another video. So today I am going to be reviewing a newish release that came out, I think it came out on June 11th or something like that. And it is called A Talent for Murder by Peter Swanson, A Talent for Murder. And you already know by this title and these little blood splatters that this is in the mystery, suspense, thriller genre, okay? That was actually a book that I got from, again, the book of the month. Remember I told y'all about that, the BOTM. And the last couple of months, they've had some selections that I felt, seemed worthwhile. So, they've pulled me back in. I don't know how long I'm going to stay in it, but for the time being, I've gotten some pretty decent titles and have, expectation to get something from them next month as well. So anyway, let's talk about the premise of this book. So, like in big red letters here, as soon as you open up the blurb, I'm going to read that part. A newlywed librarian begins to suspect the man she married is a murderer in this spectacularly twisty and deviously clever novel by best-selling author Peter Swanson. So there's a woman, her name is Martha, and she's a librarian, and she just has always believed she was unlucky in love and that she was cursed, and it's like, I'm just gonna be living my life alone, me and these books, because she was like more of a I think they call them archivists. Like, she did a lot of research and stuff, so she was really good at research, which came in handy as this book went along. But she ended up meeting this guy named Alan, who was a traveling salesman. First of all, I didn't even know in the year of our Lord 2024 that there were still traveling salesmen. But apparently what his job was, he went around to different conferences, specifically conferences for educators, so like for teachers. And he sold little knickknacks like pens, t-shirts, different things that were very teacher-centric or teacher-related, like little funny little quips or sarcastic things that, that teachers, I guess, would find interesting or endearing, and he would specialize in, like, if they were a math teacher or an English teacher, like English teachers love grammar or something, like that, and little pens and bookmarks and those type of things. So he had a regular schedule because apparently, at least in this book, those things happened with some frequency. So he was gone a lot, right? So I'm trying to see, let me see here in the book if it says, I don't know, I know in the book what made her do this, but in the blurb it just says, like, after a year, things kind of took a turn because their marriage, it was just comfortable. Like, I don't think either one of them was that excited, but they were older, getting older. I don't know if they were in their 40s yet or what, and just figured, this is, I want to settle down. I want to have somebody to live my life with. This person seems okay. I'm going to do it with this person. No, like, fireworks or any of that stuff. But again, like in the blurb says, like a year into it, there's something that happens when Alan comes back from a trip that makes Martha suspicious. And she starts to put some stuff together because remember I told you she was a researcher. That's a big bulk of her job. So she, comes to find out a lot of the cities where Alan had like traveled to for work, there had been women that had been killed in those same cities during that same time period, like that same weekend or days or week or whatever that he was there. So, this just really gets Martha's mind going because she just feels like sometimes there's something a little off about her husband that she doesn't really know him. So through her research and her due diligence, she's like, this, something's not right. I think my husband might be a murderer. So, but she doesn't want to confront him. For a couple of reasons. Number one, what if she's wrong? Now you can just blow up your whole marriage. Number two, what if she's right and he kills her? So she has to like finesse this situation, and she gets in touch with a friend of hers that she went to college with, who had helped her out of a situation with another guy. And it was just something about this, this woman that made her feel like, she would know what to do in a situation like this. And this woman's name was Lily. Now, let me pause here. I had another Peter Swanson book that I hadn't got around to reading before I read this one, right? So I did not know that the same college friend that Martha called, Lily, was a heroine in a couple of Peter Swanson's books. So, I went in totally blind with that information. And the entire time I was reading, Lily's points of view and the things that she was doing in this book, I kept saying, oh my gosh, she is so badass. She needs her own book. I want to know more about Lily. And so now I'm going to have to go down the Peter Swanson rabbit hole and find out what Lily is doing in these other books. Because when I tell y'all, she was on it. she was on it, okay? But we learn that one of the reasons why Lily was so good at assisting Martha with this particular project is because, what's that? It's a couple of sayings, like people say, real recognize real, game recognize game. Well, apparently killers recognize killers because Lily has a bit of a reputation. Okay. So she, like I said, and she wasn't doing anything. I think she was living with her parents. I don't even know if she was working. So this really was something to keep her occupied and busy. And she had a friend that she contacted who was like a private eye or something to help her also, with this particular case to figure out whether or not Alan was a murderer. And his name, this guy that she called to help, his name was Henry. And apparently he was also a character in Peter Swanson's books. So like I said, now I'm definitely gonna have to go down the rabbit hole with this Bonnie and Clyde stuff that Henry and Lily are doing. But so as we go through the book, first of all, let me tell y'all, it was so fast paced. This was just right up my alley. The book itself, I mean, you can tell, even though this is a paperback, it is only what is this, 253, 54 pages. I read this in one day. I mean, and it was probably half a day, because I had to stop and do other things. But if I would have been physically capable of just sitting down and going through this, probably would have been a few hours. It was so fast paced, and I love books like that. I mean, by page 26, the crime had happened. We had got the backstory, and we were diving in to what the rest of the story, what was important. And there were just so many twists and turns, because something very shocking, I gasped out loud, as we were going through this, with something that happened to one of the main characters. I was like, hold on a second. Oh, that's what we're doing in this book? I was really shocked by that. But let me back it up. There was, through Lily, when we get Lily's backstory and how her and Martha came to meet, there was somebody else that they knew back in the day. Remember, I told you how she had helped Martha with a situation. Well, that person comes back up, right? And I so appreciated that, because even though it gave us a reason, right, why Martha and Lily were connected. And it was substantial enough that when this person reappeared, you weren't going, what are they doing now? What is that for? It was oh, okay, do go on. Tell me more. The person fit into the story, and the narrative started to change, but it did not seem contrived. It seemed extremely plausible. And that is, one of my favorite things about suspense books. When they give us something that's plausible, they reach back and bring somebody forward and, continue the story. And so, yeah, it really became, when that person entered the chat, it really became a thriller, and the cat and mouse piece of it. Because he and Lily had a lot in common, okay? That's all I'm going to say about that, but they had a lot in common. And just reading the rationale and the things that go through the mind of someone who is basically just a textbook psychopath and mostly a sociopath. I just find that really fascinating. It just gave a different layer to the book, because in most suspense, mystery, thriller type books, the gist of it is about revenge. And I'm not saying that maybe this wasn't, in that same vein, but there was more like in the character, right? The character, I don't know. I'm trying to think of how I can say the characters were just a lot more complex. It wasn't just so cut and dry that you wronged me and I need to get revenge, because when you think about it, just the whole need for revenge and what that does to a person and why they need that, and you start excavating their minds and what went on in their lives and the trauma they experienced. I just think that is just like, I should have been a psychologist, seriously, because I really dig that kind of stuff, and I like going through the human psyche and mind. And this was just like a peek into a killer and a murderer, like what they are thinking and why they do the things that they do. In this little book, that we got a glimpse of that, getting those questions answered, right? And Lily showed us why Martha called her, because she did what needed to be done. She got the job done, right? Very clever, very very smart, outwitted the opponent, and just kudos. More Lily, please. More Lily, please. I'm definitely going to have to go check out her books. Now, as to whether or not Alan did it, towards the end, you're thinking, well, duh, like, no, like, maybe, no, like you were kind of thinking maybe he was in the clear, even though the evidence was monumental. But then you started, realizing what went on and who had orchestrated what. But then you get to the end and you get that whole, wait a minute, not done with you yet piece. That big twist. It was just so many twists and so many different reroutes and directions that you weren't expecting to happen in this book. And the title itself alludes to so many of the characters, not just one. Many of them had a talent for murder, but at the end of the day, only one could come out on top, right? Only one could come out on top. It was a really good read, y'all. It was really good. As you can see, flagged a few pages, and again, I'm not really known for that. I underline a few things on my Kindle, highlight a few things on there, and mostly Tia Williams type books is, for all her pop culture references, I'm always flagging stuff, but quite a few things in here, that made me either chuckle or go, gasp and clutch my pearls. But overall, just a very, very satisfying read. I actually got this book before it came out, because like I said, it came out on June 11th, and I think I got it on the 8th or something. It doesn't even have a barcode on it, so they must have gotten this exclusively early for the book of the month members, which I guess that's another reason maybe to get it if you're interested. But if you like, obviously, mystery, suspense, thriller books, books that are so fast paced that you're sitting down and within an hour, maybe you're halfway done, because it just holds your attention. But it's not without merit. It's not like you're just reading and nothing's happening. Stuff is constantly happening. The chessboard is constantly, pieces are constantly moving. People are getting captured, people are getting killed. It's a lot of that going on, and you're just having to keep up. And when you think you're on one path of trying to figure it out, or you maybe have gained some headway, everything changes on the board. If you like those type of psychological games and things like that, then you will absolutely love A Talent for Murder. But if you are not into the gore or the just the idea of murder, and I will say that the majority of the victims, not all of them, but the majority of the victims are women, and I think we only have maybe one or two of the murders where maybe there's a brief description of it, or we get a thing while it's happening, but most of them are like post-mortem. Like we hear, oh, you know, they found this woman, her body washed up on the beach and she had been strangled, you know, or something like that. So it's only maybe a couple of them where it's like real time, where you're kind of there and the killer is doing whatever the killer's doing, but nothing too detailed or gory. So, but if just the thought of that is not something you want to read, stay far away. But if you are somebody, you know, who watches First 48 and ID channel and all of that, you will really enjoy this book. So, oh, yeah, it was really good. So anyway, that's all I have for you today. If you have read A Talent for Murder, I would love to know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you thought about those twists. And when, you know, that first death occurred of a main character, you're like, what is happening here, right? So yeah, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you like this video and turn that post notification bell so that, you know, as I post more videos, you will be alerted. And go ahead right now, if you haven't already, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks again, guys, and I will see you next week. Bye.